My name is Tripp Partain. I'm with HPE. I'm the CTO of Edge and IoT Systems. And I've got the opportunity today to come and talk to you about some exciting new solutions we have featuring the HPE Edgeline EL8000, driving Azure Stack HCI and Azure Stack Hub solutions. First, to make sure that we're all on the same page, I want to take a second just to make sure that we understand what Azure Stack HCI and Azure Stack Hub are and where they fit within the Azure Stack family. So you can see with the slide that's on the screen today that talks about the three different offerings. We're not going to focus on Azure Stack Edge today. We're going to be looking at Azure Stack HCI, which really brings a hyper-converged solution that's really targeted for running virtualized workloads and being able to do that in a very efficient fashion, as well as Azure Stack Hub, which then looks at the entire set of Azure services that you would normally have available in the Azure cloud and being able to bring those into an on-premise deployment scenario and being able to then have all of the same features and capabilities for any apps that were developed for the Azure cloud to be able to run those localized and even in a disconnected fashion. So the virtualized workloads for Azure Stack HCI, as well as the completely disconnected full set of cloud services scenario with Azure Stack Hub is really what we're going to focus on today. The reason that we work together with Microsoft and Avanade to put together the Azure Stack HCI and Azure Stack Hub solutions on the HPE EL8000 was really driven by the myriad of edge-related use cases that we've seen come from our customers. Edge means different things to different industries and different customers, but something that was consistent was as they decided to make these moves to leverage cloud in many, many scenarios, and with Azure being one of the leaders in the cloud opportunities and the cloud plays that these customers are looking at, a number of opportunities existed where they wanted to take advantage of these newer technologies. They wanted to stay consistent across the entire organization, but they had locations or situations where a direct cloud connection to drive the full workload didn't make a lot of sense or wouldn't actually even work for them. And so the ability to be able to take advantage of these extended Azure Stack offerings from Microsoft and doing it in a form factor and with a platform that allowed them to deploy it into many non-traditional locations as you would think about for a cloud or a data center is really where these solutions really came to play and was a sweet spot between what HPE has done with its Edgeline product line and would be able to still take advantage of the full capabilities of Microsoft's Azure Stack. And so to really look at what's powering this solution, we need to take a second and really understand what HPE is bringing to the table with our Edgeline product line. Actually, we created a brand new product category recognized by Forrester and Gartner as the converged edge system. And that's really what the Edgeline family is. It's a converged edge system, which takes some of the best capabilities that HPE has developed over 20 or 30 years of being a leader in data center server technology, but putting it into form factors and really taking into account the differences in size, weight, power, and temperature that are required for edge deployments. And including in that is the ability to actually embed other operational type of control and analog control systems. And out of that, you get the Edgeline product line. So again, for all of the edge lines that you see on the slide in front of you, the focus for our Azure Stack solutions is going to be the Edgeline 8000. But across the board, when you look at HPE and you look at an Edgeline, you're talking about a system that has expanded environmental operating capabilities. At a minimum, an Edgeline is going to operate in an environment from 0 to 55 degrees Celsius. At a minimum, some can expand that even further. But you're going to have unprecedented amounts of compute, the ability within that to have integrated operational capabilities, operational analog control systems directly embedded into the same chassis with your IT capabilities. So the ability for you to begin to interact with the operational world is there built into the system. And lastly, the ability to have our embedded ILO capabilities for out-of-band remote management, as well as the top-level security that's included with ILO 5, as well as our silicon root of trust. So these same security leading capabilities that allows HPE to say that the Gen 10 server is the most secure server on the market today. All of those same security capabilities are evident within our Edgeline 8000, which is the focus platform for both the Azure Stack HCI and the Azure Stack Hub solutions. So let's take a specific focus and look at the Edgeline 8000 and really how it's really been designed to be key in terms of edge deployments for a robust solution like Azure Stack HCI or Azure Stack Hub. Again, first and foremost, size is critically important when you think about edge deployments, whether you're deploying at the base of a 5G tower, whether it's in the back of a retail organization, whether it's in a healthcare facility, whether you're actually embedding this inside of a moving vehicle, on an oil rig out in the middle of the ocean. Size, weight, power, temperature are key requirements that are typically very limited in most of, if not all of those scenarios that I just mentioned. And the EL8000 doesn't disappoint in this scenario. If you look at it, you're talking about a full-sized 4-node server, which is 5U high, so a little bit, about 8.5 inches, half a rack wide, which is just slightly larger than that, and then only 17 inches deep. So again, although it is, probably about 45 to 50 pounds if you fully loaded the system, you're still talking about a fully functional 4-node best-in-class server that is small enough to still fit in the overhead compartment of an airplane, but still with enough capabilities and powers to be certified for full Azure Stack Hub as well as Azure Stack HCI. So within that, you have our the design around a number of our Edgeline platforms, and that's a combination of chassis and compute platform. Now, I show this slide just to give you a little bit of background about the Edgeline 8000, but what's most important here is for both Azure Stack HCI and Azure Stack Hub, we're focusing on our 1U half-rack node, which you can see over in the upper corner there. So 4 of those combined with our chassis, that really gives us the overall solution that we'll be driving with Microsoft and to be able to bring into the marketplace to give you the ability, to give customers the ability to take advantage of either HCI or Hub in the smallest form factor in the market today, ruggedized to handle environmentals way different than what would be available normally outside of a data center. So these are fine in the back room. In retail, these are fine on a shop floor. These will operate fine in an MDF closet as well. So you're really talking about a form factor with these expanded environmentals, but still with enough compute capability to be able to handle these advanced workloads. So first, let's talk about Azure Stack HCI on the Edgeline 8000. So for those that are familiar with how the certification for Azure Stack HCI works, you certify on a set of minimums, and then from that point forward, any supported capabilities within that solution family that meet or exceed those minimums are also supported. You can go to Microsoft.com or to HPE.com, look up Azure Stack HCI, and you'll get a full set of certified solutions that are available, as well as the one for the Edgeline 8000. Within that, it's an all-flash NVMe solution. We support from 2 to up to 16 nodes. And you can see the minimum processor requirement, the memory configs that are supported from 64 all the way to 1.5 terabytes, the drive sizes, and the other certified solutions around the networking and the other configurations. So again, HCI being the Azure Stack solution that really focuses on hyperconverged systems and virtual machines. You've got a lot of flexibility as long as you meet the minimum spec as to how you deploy it. And again, these systems are small enough that they can be deployed and distributed into many non-traditional locations. Now, to be able to help with the deployment of these, there's an additional HPE solution called the Edge Center 6 that I'd like to introduce you to. So this is a small floor-mountable, wall-mountable 6U rack, which gives you a very purpose-built form factor that can support a number of HPE standard solutions, within that including the Edgeline 8000. And as I go on to the next slide, you can see what happens here is within this, now you have the ability, in addition to the server, the ability to add in additional switches, to have sealed cable access, to be able to put security in terms of access. There's a number of sensors that you can take advantage of so that you can get detection if the environmentals such as smoke, water, temperature, and humidity start to exceed a certain threshold. So even though the Edgeline 8000 is engineered in a way to be able to handle these more extreme conditions, you can still have alerting available so that as you have these remote deployments, you can understand if something in that environment is happening that maybe shouldn't be happening so that you can take the appropriate type of responses to shut the systems down gracefully before you start to have issues. So what happens with the Edge Center 6 is it gives us a deployment option for both Azure Stack HCI and Azure Stack Hub that really gives you a full end-to-end to really take all of the things that you had within the data center, be able to bring those in a very small form factor into these remote deployment locations. Additionally, you've got some extra filtration on the front of the unit, which we'll see a little better later on, as well as an additional set of fans in the back to give you maximum airflow to really maximize the temperature ranges that these expanded systems can support. So now if we pivot from that, and so now that you kind of understand where that fits in the family, you'll see this a little more clearly as you look at what's required for the fully certified Azure Stack Hub solution on the HPE Edgeline 8000. So within that, you've got a full 4-node Edgeline 8000, those 4 nodes being the minimum for Azure Stack Hub. You've got 2 of our HPE Store Fabric switches. So these are 1U half-rack switches, which again, from a form factor standpoint, whenever you see how we put all of this together with the Edgeline 8000 and the Edgeline 300, which serves as our management node for the entire Azure Stack Hub solution, which again can be scaled anywhere from 4 nodes all the way up to 16 nodes with the Edgeline 8000. Then all of these pieces go together to give you that full redundant solution that's capable of supporting all of the Azure Stack services that you would have in the cloud and have these in an on-premise out of the data center solution. And so now we'll take what we have for our Azure Stack Hub solution on the Edgeline 8000, as well as the Edge Center 6, which we saw a few slides earlier. And when you pull all of this together, now you start to see how within a 6U form factor, you've got a market leading in terms of both environmentals as well as size way to deploy Azure Stack Hub that you couldn't get from any other vendors. You couldn't get this from any other partners out there in the marketplace. So within the picture here, you can leverage. If you look at the orange, you'll see there's our Edgeline 8000 full 4 nodes, everything that we looked at before. You can see some of the minimum specs. Across in the white box here, that's our Edgeline 300. And again, the management node. In the purple there, you've got the 2 switches. So again, you can see how this all fits nice and neat into a normal rack size since these are all half rack. And then I still have the ability to have a full 1U lithium ion UPS at the bottom that has up to 3000 kVA capabilities. So again, plenty of power to support the entire unit. So this is a fully functioning, fully now with UPS backup, Azure Stack Hub solution on the Edgeline 8000, all within a 6U form factor that's wall mountable, floor mountable. And then you can see the back panel with the extra fans for airflow and the front panel with removable, cleanable filtration built right in. And so you have a nice, neat package that can be deployed in any number of edge-related use cases to take full advantage of all the capabilities that Azure Stack brings to you and to your customers. Now, additionally, if you had a tactical deployment where you needed even more ruggedization for how the Azure Stack Hub solution is deployed, and we actually have full mil spec case options, which can be completely submerged in swimming pools, can drop off the back of a truck and still handle all of the protection requirements for the solution. And you can see in the picture here, it's got wheels. It's a 2-man carry case with the handles on each side. The case plus the solution all in is about 110 pounds. So again, 2-man movable, 1-man movable in terms of pulling it with the wheels. And then you can see in the bottom picture the schematic of how the 8000 and the switches fit into the box. Within this, I'd like to close and really point to one of the key parts of our solution is the partnership we have with Accenture Avanade and the ability for Avanade to be able to drive all of the services related to the Azure Stack Hub solution on the EL8000. So Avanade is a certified Microsoft OEM for Azure Stack Hub. They're the market leader in terms of actual successful deployments. HPE's been working with them already with a number of our data center based offerings. But in this case, very uniquely, they really helped us to drive through the certification on the Edgeline 8000 and to date have a very unique set of service offerings from initial deployment all the way through full managed services that are available. And you can see in terms of bringing the HPE EL8000 Azure Stack Hub-based solution to market, Avanade is the key partner that HPE works with, and they have the ability to do everything from the initial install all the way up to full managed services and all services in between. And Avanade is a key partner with both Microsoft and HPE in bringing this solution to market. So I want to thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you about the Edgeline 8000 from HPE, as well as the Azure Stack HCI and Azure Stack Hub solutions that we've developed for this unique platform. I think you can see based on the size, weight, power, temperature options that the Edgeline 8000 brings to the table, as well as the key capabilities that Azure Stack HCI and Azure Stack Hub offer to the customers, and then add into it the deployment options that Avanade brings as a partner, that Azure Stack HCI and Azure Stack Hub on the Edgeline 8000 is a unique value proposition and one that yourself or your customers are going to want to take advantage of.